Hello and welcome to Junk Monkey Live. This is a place where resellers come to hang out, treasure hunters, thrifters, what have you, and we just kind of hang out, talk about whatever comes up. This week we're going to be talking about a couple of eBay updates and slow sales, some reasons for them. Let's see, we have Tina in the house tonight. Ping is here, howdy. Mama Beth is here. Christopher Nutter, how are you, brother? Glad to see everybody coming in. Get over here to my other screen and bring it up so I can keep track of everything and mute that and downsize the screen so I can see the chat. There we are. Now we can see everybody. So how's everybody's sales been lately? Mine have not been all that great. Oh yeah, I'm doing a lot better. Last week I was a little under the weather. I apologize everybody for not being here last week. It was actually not just the one day. I had several days in a row where I just didn't feel very good. But we're feeling better. We're working away, chipping away at everything, getting things done, getting stuff listed. I'm moving a lot of stuff off of eBay onto Poshmark, my clothing and majority of my shoes. But still, my sales, I'm used to having 10 to 15 sales a day, but here recently, over the last 2-3 weeks, I've been lucky to get 3 to 5 sales a day. And one of the reasons for it is one reason for if you get slow sales, if you have any open returns, active open returns, you're waiting on something to get back, it hasn't cleared yet, you haven't refunded them yet, I truly believe that they slow your store down. They don't push your store out when that happens. And that's not just a guess. I've actually kept track of that kind of stuff for about 2.5, 3 years now. And every time that I have open returns, my sales numbers just tank. So, it's one of those things where more often than not, I write returns off, just send the refund and get it cleared off the books. But then again, I source a lot of my smalls from the bin, so I don't have a lot of money in them. And it means more to me to have my sales numbers on eBay continue, to be stable, rather than get slowed down and lose a bunch of sales every day. So I had several returns. It's not 3, not 4. I had like 5 or 6. And several of them I did go ahead and just write them off and send the refund. But a couple of them, for instance, I still have one that's active. I've already refunded the guy, but I did not refund the original shipping. He started the return as a INADS. eBay now calls them SNADs, which is significantly not as described. Defective, not working. And it actually did work. In fact, it sold again today. So I've already gotten the thing back, retested it. It does work. It's a remote control. And sold it again today. But prior to him buying it, he had sent me a message asking me if it would work with his system, and he rattled off some numbers, and I'm like, I have no idea. So he bought it just to see if it would work for his system, and then when it didn't, instead of just sending it back for change my mind or whatever, he listed it as damaged, defective, not working, which was not true, and I actually reported him to eBay. So right now, I'm waiting for him to acknowledge that he received his refund, but I'm not refunding the original shipping. He knew better than to buy that thing. He could have easily Googled his system and got the part number for his remote control and saw that it wasn't the one that I was selling. So I don't feel bad not giving him his original shipping back. Yeah, I shipped 3 out this morning. I'm used to having 2 at a minimum of 2 IKEA bags, and maybe anywhere from one to 3 or 4 UPS boxes long, like my golf club boxes. And here recently, I had one really good day. I think it was on a Friday evening, and to include Saturday morning, I had like 7 go out. I still have 100% positive feedback. It just seems weird to me that any little hiccup and eBay just all but shuts you down. And I don't understand that, because if they slow me down, the less I sell, the less money they make. I promote every single thing. I use as many of their tools to sell as I possibly can. You can't do everything. You'd be all day, every day, just sitting in front of the computer, and then you have no time to source or list. Yeah, exactly, Tina. More often than not, I do refund the original shipping. If it's truly defective or I missed something, I will, because it's not fair. They ordered an item in good faith, and if I miss something or it's defective or it got damaged in transit or whatever, I'll go ahead and just eat that shipping cost. I always say that if your business cannot handle a return and a refund, you need a better business model. Your business needs to be strong enough to handle returns, because you're going to get them. Sooner or later, you're going to get returns. So have a strong enough business model to absorb that kind of thing. And the number one way you can do that is to buy better. Buy better items at cheaper prices. And I know that's tough, and you don't get as much stuff doing it that way. But uh, honestly, I would rather have fewer items that I don't have to worry about that sell for more money than to be loaded down with thousands of listings that just said don't sell and probably won't sell. And if they do sell, they might be a problem. eBay is always their system, and they're constantly updating, constantly working, constantly tweaking on things. So yeah, you're going to get those slowdowns. But again, if you list better items, you're still going to make the sales. Yeah, Tina, and it's always good to talk with your buyers, but sometimes they don't give you a chance. Sometimes you get up in the morning, you turn the computer on, and boom, there's a return, an INAD. Somebody's mad, and like, hey, uh, if you'd have gave me a chance, I've been more than happy to work with you. And it's usually on those low dollar items too. It's just a some days it's a pain in the neck, but the better seller you are, the fewer of those pain in the neck days you'll have. So the eBay updates that I've noticed, I know there's more than 2, but I can only bring 2 to mind at the moment. One of them actually came and appears to have gone away again, and it has to do with promoting. They came up with a new thing in their promotions to where if you clicked on it and they recommended that you do, what it was a sliding scale for how much you promote. And so whatever the going rate for promotions was at the time the customer clicked on it, that's what you get charged. I didn't like it, didn't use it, didn't try it. Today, as I'm listing, that function is gone. And quite honestly, I don't know how they even made it work, because when you're working on your draft, you're drafting something out, you get to the bottom where it says promote this item, and you promote it, and then it'll tell you the going promotion rate. Say it's 4.6. So you 4.6. Then you go live with the listing, and then you pull up your list of active listings, And under one of the columns, it'll say, the promoted rate. And then right beside it, it'll tell you what it's supposed to be. Well, 30 seconds ago when you listed it, it was 4.6%. Now it's 6.7%. So, their right hand doesn't know what their left hand's doing a lot of the time. So, I don't know. They're a constant work in progress. Sometimes they work on stuff that, you know, we all think they should work on something more important. That's more often than not, when I have a conversation with a buyer who's not 100% happy with what they've got, if you just talk to them and be nice, a lot of times it works out just fine. For instance, last month I had a guy buy a remote control, and he contacted me and said, "Hey man, this thing's not working." I'm like, "Well, did you put a battery in it? Because I ship them without batteries." And guess what? That's what it was. But he could have easily started an INAD on me. And no, I am not listing on Macari yet. One of the things about Macari that's keeping me from opening up an account over there is the fact that they don't have 4x6 labels. I know there's a way where you can download the label and then manipulate it to where to print. I ain't got time for all that. I came up with a new term this past week. I am tech-tarded. When it comes to this technical stuff, I really don't know what I'm doing most of the time. So if the instant Macari comes up with 4x6 label format, I will jump on there. Yeah, Ping, exactly. That's exactly right. If you have a highly sought after item that is very rare and you've got one of only two or three or the only one, there's really no need to promote. However, I change what I promote at from time to time, and when I do that, I do it as a bulk edit. So, right now I'm promoting at 4%, but I'm thinking about bumping that up to 5% across the board. I used to have a sliding scale where some things were 10%, other things were 7.5%. I simplified it. Well, Ping, I don't have a regular printer here in my eBay office. That I have a printer in the house that's wireless, but you have to reboot that thing every time you use it. And it's a pain in the neck. And again, it's wireless and it's in the house and it doesn't always get the signal. I have a wired printer at work that I used for years to print eBay labels, but my office, the corner here that I work out of, computer wise, is very small, and I honestly don't even have room for a standard printer. Christopher, no, but I will go back up and see as soon as I can find my cursor. Where are you, cursor? There you are. Oh, about the search engine. Is that it? Yeah, I saw that. Hey, Lori, how are you? So, Christopher, is that what you're talking about their search engine going haywire? Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. I don't think that was, it didn't affect everybody. It affected a lot of people, but not everybody. One thing that I see that that still pops up a lot is when you're doing sold comps. You have to be careful because a lot of times it doesn't come up to the default search when you're searching for something, especially media stuff like DVDs and CDs. When you do the actual search, it does the default and searches nationwide or global. But when you go to the solds, it defaults to within 25 miles of your current location, so you don't actually see the solds. And it's a real pain in the neck sometimes. I don't know why that problem keeps coming back, but you have to be careful with it. Oh, the other update that I do remember seeing this past week is has to do with search comps or sold comps. When you're out in the wild and you run across something that's got a barcode, they've changed how the barcode camera function works. Instead of doing the full screen, now you have like this um, little rectangular bullseye window in the center of your screen that you got to center up the barcode on it for it to work. I know there was one other that I wanted to talk about tonight, and I can't remember. Yeah, uh, I have a video game tester too, but she hasn't played console type video games in years. She's all online video gaming these days. But speaking of video games, here's somebody else you want to be nice to is the workers at your local thrift store. Uh, Most of the thrift stores I go to, I know several of the people that work there by first name, and I'll go out of my way if I see them across the store. I'll go out of my way to go over and say hello to them, have a short little conversation with them. And I was doing that, I believe it was Monday. Yeah, I do believe it was Monday. And one of the workers there, his name's Kevin. Um, he knows that I like electronics, and he rolled out a cart of electronics, grabbed a PS3 off the cart, and walked around the store and found me and handed it to me. He's not really supposed to do that, but he did it for me. Uh, Another one of the managers that works there, they were recently doing some remodeling, and they took the golf club display out and put it in the back room. And I was asking her where it was at. She said it's in the back room now, and she said, "Hang on a minute." And then she took me to the back room and let me go through the golf clubs. And I ended up walking out of there with like 7 ping putters. Made a lot of money off them golf clubs. Hey, Marie, how are you? How's the weather up there? It was sunny most of the day here, but about 2 hours ago, it clouded up and started spitting rain and sleet. So it's getting cold again. Yeah, I have a Wii system that I keep. It's got all the cables and the controllers and everything. That way, when I get a console or a game in, I can test it. And that PS3, I had to get online and I had a controller for it. And so I got online, tested it, was able to pull up the screen that showed how many gigabytes or whatever the memory is. And it literally sold. I listed it Monday night, and Tuesday morning I got up and it was sold. Ooh, 12 inches of snow. Mm-mm. I'm an old Texas boy. I don't like that snow stuff. I always thought it was pretty in a picture until I had to live in it. I used to live about, well, I lived in a town that on one end of town, it was 5,000 feet of elevation. And on the other end of town, it was 6,000 feet of elevation. And I got real sick of snow real quick. Yeah, today was the first day of sunshine we've had in a while. But it didn't last all day. It's cloudy, wet, windy, and just miserable type chilly cold. Mm. I think you guys have been getting a lot of rain over the last month or so down that way. I see where a lot of the reservoirs are on their way up. What's the big lake down in Nevada? It's it actually filled up so fast it's causing problems. Lake Mead. Marie, I don't know. I'm hoping that I can get up that way in a couple of weeks. I have a lot of things going on here at the house where that might accidentally keep me from being able to go. I have a couple of contractors coming by. My front door needs to be replaced. There's a little problem with the wall, so I also have a back deck that has to be torn off and rebuilt, which I actually think I'm going to tackle that job myself. And a lot of the stuff that is keeping me is because of the weather. If it would ever just stay nice, warm, dry, and sunny for a good 7 to 10 days straight, I could knock a lot of those chores out and free up time to go. But if it stays rainy and I'm not able to do it, then I might be able to run up there. I'll do that. I'll let you know. I was watching right before the live, I was watching Bearded Thrift Machine, Julian, and he found a golf club. Well, yesterday on my way home from my watch repair job, I ran by the thrift store. I get in there, and the first time I needed to look something up, I reached for my phone, and it wasn't there. I had left it at work. So I kept one golf club and put the rest of them back. Okay, and went and got my phone and decided I'm just going to go to the house. And so I'm watching Julian's video, and the golf clubs that I left behind, he found one of the same golf clubs. He found just one of them, but threw up a sold comp. I'm like, man, I left the wrong ones and brought home the wrong ones. But I talked to him in a comment on that video right before this one started, about 20 minutes before this one started. Let him know that it'd be going live tonight and was going to mention that. So I was kind of hoping he would stop by. But he's very busy these days. I don't know if he's still doing any live shows. I know he's not with Kat, the nurse flipper. He's not doing the Tuesday night things with her anymore. Yeah, Ping, that's a big thing. And it's not just a California thing. East Texas has a lot of lake and river houses that are, when we have really wet springs, a lot of people lose their yards, and I've even seen houses go over. Yeah, Julian and Kayla, they're amongst my favorites. Anymore these days, there are just a smaller handful of resellers that I still watch, and out of them, only a couple of them do I watch everything they put out, and Julian's one of those. I always get tickled when he's at yard sales and he's like, "Oh wow!" He sees something, he just gets excited. He's like, "Oh wow, what's that?" And picks it up. Oh, absolutely! Drop his link. And if anybody goes and signs up for their, tell him you heard about his story over here, or his story. Listen at me, his channel. So pretty sure everybody knows who he is. He's really good people. I like him. He has at least 3 channels. One of them he doesn't post on very much, and it's usually him and Kayla or him and his dad out fishing or something. But he has one that he does all his shorts on and what sold videos. I find them from time to time. Last summer, I found a golf club that's worth $500. Baseball bats, I think I've only ever sold one that was over $100, and that was recently. But I've found quite a few of them that were in the $40 to $75 range. But the vast majority of them that I sell are in the $20 to $30 range. And golf clubs for me are few and far between, good ones. Now, I know a lot of people say that don't sit on things because things sell all year round. And they'll talk about Christmas items. They'll talk about Halloween items. And yeah, Halloween, they all do sell. out of their season. But seasonal goods will always sell better, faster, and for more money during their season, especially the very beginning of their season. So, golf clubs, baseball bats, and gloves, I save those until the beginning of their season. So, once the beginning of the season is over, unless it's a really, really high end one, I I'll just set on them. And then early spring, I will list all my golf clubs, baseball bats, and gloves all at the same time. And when you do that, it actually when you list a lot of things all in the same category, it really helps you. It pushes your items. Um, Especially buyers are scrolling and they see that you just listed a whole bunch. They will a lot of times click on your see other items or visit their store. So it's really a good idea to list as many items in a single category at one time as you can. And seasonal, yes, it will sell all year long, but it'll sell better, it'll sell faster, and it'll sell for more money during its season. Also, older listings don't get pushed out like newer ones do. So don't be afraid to set on stuff until it's their season. Not to mention when you're buying the stuff yourself and you're outsourcing it off season, a lot of times you can get it cheaper. So yesterday was the day that I forgot my phone. Well, the one thing that I did pick up, one of two things, I don't remember what the other was, pair of shoes maybe, but I picked up a DVD VCR combo unit. It's a Sony one, and sell through rate. I hate that term, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But here's what the sell through was on it. There are 43 listed, 270 something sold. A lot of people will tell you that's 100% sell through rate or 200 and something. It's not a rate, it's a ratio, but it's a very good one. So I tested it last night, drafted it, listed it first thing this morning, and sold it by lunchtime for pretty good money. What to get back to sell through rate, sell there, it's not a percentage of chance that you're going to sell your item. You can't get on there and say there's 10 listed and 100 sold and say that's 100% sell through rate. It is not a sell through rate. It's a 10 to 1 sold to listed ratio, which gives you a really good chance. But it's not always the case. And you got to be careful because a lot of times that when you pull up the solds, a lot of times it's not your item, just your item. Like, for instance, Sony VCR DVD combos. Uh, a lot of those sold listings are going to be the remote controls, um, parts and pieces. So and a lot of times the same item will be sold, returned, and resold, messing with the numbers. And when you're talking about smaller, like there's 3 or 4 listed and 5 or 6 sold. Well, the 5 or 6 that sold may be sold to the only 5 or 6 people in the entire world who wanted one of these items. So be careful with your sold comps. Yeah, the print head on the Canon printers, they sell, but you really need to clean them, and that's a really dirty, nasty job, and I don't mess with them. Now, if I found the one of those printers, I think it's the 6000 series Canon printers that the print head sells real good on. Now, if I found one at a yard sale for $2 or it's in a free pile, I might mess with it then. But you still have to test it to make sure it works. So you have to. It's a yeah. It's Tim Osborne, Osborne the Thrift. He sells a lot of those things, and he's got some videos showing how you take them apart and how you test them and clean them. And it's just a little too much for me to deal with. Hey, Roman, how are you tonight? And the lag between the StreamYard and YouTube is not quite as big a lag as it normally is. Sip of water here. But in other news, I've been getting a lot of watches ready. So I'm going to go on a watch listing marathon here pretty soon. I'm waiting on an order of watch straps to come in. Roman, that's one of the topics of the live tonight. Is sales have been really slow, but I've had several returns that I've had to deal with, and when you have returns, active returns, it seems like eBay intentionally slows your store down. So I have one still active. I've already given the refund on it. Just waiting for him to verify that he got his money, and then that'll clear out, and my sales should pick back up. Let's see. I shipped off 3 items today, and I've got 3 going out tomorrow so far. One of those is an offer I accepted yesterday that he paid for today. Awesome. I had a good weekend on Poshmark for me. I'm still new at it. I was able to pick up Posh Ambassador in just about a month's time. And I'm moving a lot of my stuff, clothing and shoe related, off of eBay onto Poshmark. And it seems to be doing pretty good there. Yeah. It seems like there's all kind of reasons for eBay's slow sales. And you would think that it seems to me eBay sometimes will cut their nose off just to spite their face, which is, it's kind of silly. But it's things like that is driving a lot of us to cross-listing and selling on multiple platforms instead of just sticking with eBay. But anyway, I was talking about I've got a big order of watch bands coming in, leather straps. I just bought a bunch of cheap ones. I normally make my own. That's kind of time consuming, and it's not very cheap. And a lot of the watches I'm about to list are not high dollar watches. They're not Rolexes. Well, one of them is, but they're what's called field watches. When the soldiers returned from World War II, a lot of them were accustomed to wearing the little military Bullovas and Benrisses and Hamiltons and things of that nature. They got used to wearing a watch like that. So the watch industry started making watches that were inspired by those military watches, and we call them field watches. They'll normally have a center sweep second hand and a minute track that shows every single minute. Most of them are manual wind, and just hundreds of watch companies at the time. They all use similar movements. In fact, very few of them made their own movements. And those will be the higher end watches like Hamilton and Benris and Bulova and Rolex and Omega. But you had all these days they call them micro brands, but there were just tons of them out there. They all used movements made by one of 3 or 4 companies. And they're very popular, very collectible. And when you sell these vintage watches, they always sell better when they're on a strap rather than, well, that one's going back to the repair shop. Anyway, these things always sell better when they're on a strap than when they're not. This one has a copper colored dial, kind of a 2-tone effect with it. I'm going to pick that watch up that I just dropped on a concrete floor and see if it still works. Ticking away. It's a good thing I know somebody that works on watches. But yeah, You know what? I've got some electrical cords down there. I think it landed on those instead of directly on the concrete, so it's good. No cracks or dings or dents or uh, something else that you want to look for in old watches. Um, you guys all know about the craze in the car industry, the hot rods and all that. They call it the patina look, where the paint is all oxidized, a little rust here and there, uh, multiple colors and stuff. Well, watch collectors love patina also. And I just finished this one yesterday, but let's see if we can make this work. I don't know if the light's going to show it, but no, it's not going to pick it up on this camera. Tell you guys what I'm going to do. I'll take a really good picture of this dial and I'll post that on Instagram to show you guys what I'm talking about. But patina is a good thing. Patina is always better than poorly polished. These dials are made out of metal, but they're painted on most of the time. Sometimes, like the copper dial, the copper will actually be plated onto it. All right, Christopher, what did you sell? Let's see what else I got here. I am not going to drop this one. So this is one of the pocket watches that I have ready to go. And these things are generically known as secondometers. Only one company makes an actual secondometer model, and this is it. This one is made by Hamilton. It's a small dress size pocket watch in a fancy case. And it doesn't have a second hand. It has a digital seconds readout. And it's a mechanical digital, not an electrical digital. If you'll notice just above the 6, there's a window in the dial. And there's a little rotating disc in there that has the seconds bit going around. These things are kind of tough to come up with. Lizard. I'm going to have to say that was a plush or some kind of toy. I've kind of laid off of buying the big bags of toys. I've gotten really lucky multiple times buying those. In fact, yesterday when I left my phone, I left a bag full of, it was a little bit larger bag than normal, and it had one Cabbage Patch Kid in it, the little preemies, but it was also had a big wad of the clothing that goes on them. Now, I know the clothing that was on the doll itself was marked Cabbage Patch Kids, but I couldn't find those markings on any of the other clothings. So I've got to go back tomorrow, see if it's still there, and pick it up. A rubber lizard. Cool. But I had this crazy idea that when I was buying all those bags of toys and going to the bins and just throwing those little figurines and toys and whatnot in my basket, that I would put big boxes full of them together and just sell them in by the pound. You know, I pay 79 cents a pound on average at the bins when I get over 20 pounds worth. And I figured I would get on there and sell them for like $1.50 or $2 a pound. And really all I did was just bring home a bunch of junk. I had a big, massive box that probably had 40 or 50 pounds worth of them in it, but it was mostly McDonald's Happy Meal toys and stuff that's just no good. Yeah, some toys are good. I recently bought a small tub. It had 3 Transformers in it. 2 of them were Star Wars Transformer collabs. It was the Millennium Falcon that broke into 2 robots. One of the robots was Han Solo and the other one was Chewbacca. and they were in pieces. I was trying to put it together, and it was falling apart. And finally, a piece of it just broke, and I got mad and just threw it away. But the other transformer that was in there was a yellow Optimus Prime. It's a rare variant version, whatever it is. And I sold that thing almost immediately for $75. So there are toys out there that are worth good money. And yeah, Tina, Google Lens was how I figured out what the thing was. But the overflow of toys that aren't worth listing, I'm really slowing down on buying those big bags fulls unless I see something in it that I'm fairly confident in. In fact, toys and figurines last year was on my top 10 list. But even being on my top 10 list, though, the amount of money I made selling them, the gross number really wasn't all that great. With the exception of finding a $75 transformer, I sold a lot of $5, $10, $15 toys, and the problem with them is probably less than 20, probably not even 20% of the ones that I would bring home would end up getting listed. So 80% of what I was bringing home was a waste of money, and it's a waste of space in my shop. I have yet to find C.C. Filson. You'd think being up here in Oregon, I'd find it. I find Pendleton now and again and Woolrich, but I've yet to find C.C. Filson. That is on my bucket list of things to find, which I found something on my bucket list yesterday. That was the second thing that I bought yesterday. Well, it was one of three things. I found one of those Tupperware pickle keepers. Never found one. I see Kayla, the homeschooling picker. She finds them fairly often. And of course, Kevin, Commonwealth picker, he talks about them fairly often. But I had never found one until yesterday. I'm actually thinking about keeping the daggum thing. In fact, I think it's in here. I haven't took it in the house to clean it yet. There it is. And it's not that bad. It wouldn't take much to clean it. And the interior looks like it's never been used. I know this lighting in here is terrible. Yeah, it's slick and clean. No wear on the inside at all. This thing probably got moved from one cabinet to another for 30, 40 years. It's still flexible. It's not dry. And yeah. Well, I haven't even looked it up. I know they don't bring big money. They're on what, 10, $15, maybe 20 on a good day. But it's one of my bucket list items. I've found the high dollar video games. I've found Lucchese boots. I found high dollar golf clubs. And it's the little stuff like this, though, I get excited about finding. Guys, is the video on your end looking good? Because on StreamYard I look great, but when I turn and look at YouTube, it's all fuzzy and out of focus. Thank God I talk with my hands a lot. Mildly foggy. I don't know what. If I'm gonna keep doing this, I guess I'm gonna have to get a decent camera. It could be. She probably is. It's about that time of night. Just about guarantee that's what it is. Unless the weather's turning. Let me look outside real quick, see if the weather's getting worse. No, actually, weather looks like it's cleared up a bit. I know it's not the camera because, again, on StreamYard here on my laptop, it's crystal clear. It's just on YouTube, it's a little bit, it looks a little better. That's probably what it is. She's probably burning up some of my bandwidth. Well, guys, you guys see this big mess behind me? Cabinets, parts cabinets, and storage containers, and all that mess is going away this year. I'm going to change the floor plan in here, and a lot of this stuff is either it's going to go completely away. I've got different cabinetry I'm going to put it in, and it'll be out of sight. Really open up my workspace in the middle, and probably get a couple of more big shelves for putting bins on. Hey, Swamp Picker's here. How are you tonight? What kind of book is that? Is that one of the leather-bound books there, Tina? I posted a book yesterday. It was a Doctor Who book. Just one of those little dime novels. All 3 years ago, before I opened the store, and actually probably 4 years ago now, I took a literal truckload of books, all sci-fi, mostly sci-fi and fantasy books, took them to the dump. I was listing them on eBay in flat rate boxes and maybe $5 over that, and couldn't sell it. And so I had these big Foot Locker storage boxes. I think I had 12 of them full of nothing but books. History of rural Alabama. Oh, I've actually heard of that place, Tina. I'm trying to remember the name. They give the quilts that they make a name. In fact, in recent years, there was a company that tried knocking off their blankets, and some lawyers got together and helped them out, and got a cease and desist on the company that was using their name, and got them on social media so they could sell their blankets direct. Gee's Bend. That's the name of the area they're from, but their quilts, the quilt collectors call their quilts by a certain name. But yeah, I've actually heard of them. Now, when I'm at the bins, a lot of times I'm just grabbing media, books, magazines, CDs, DVDs, cassettes. And when I get done making a little rotation around the bins, I'll go off in the corner and start scanning all that stuff. And I don't, 1 in 20 or 30 items I might keep, but sometimes I find really good stuff. Like I found a DVD about how to perform magician's tricks with coins. I bought it at the bin. So what I got in it, a nickel, 10 cents, and I sold it for $25. And a lot of the CDs, Hispanic or Spanish or Italian CDs, things of that nature, sell better than you would think. Like big name artists and stuff, that Now that stuff's easily found, but some of that stuff that's not so easily found can bring good money. Yeah. Anything that piques your interest, if it piques your interest, it's probably going to pique somebody else's interest. And it's at the very least worth looking at. I do the same thing. We all do the same thing. Now, if I see anything watch or clock related or jewelry related, I'm picking it up and looking at it. And sometimes, even if it's not worth reselling, I'll buy it to have it. All the women in my family used to get together and do quilting. My grandfather was constantly making quilting frames. He had them that would hang from the ceiling. He had some that set up on pedestals. But yeah, my grandmother would complain about some little design flaw or another. So off to his workshop he'd go and he'd come up with a new design and try it. Harry Humpstone, how are you tonight, man? I just saw something in the background of my video. Let's see this one right there, tip of my finger. See those two pictures? One of them is a Disney artist drawing, and the other one is one of those really old silhouette pictures. I should probably get those off the wall and check them, check sold comps on them, because I know I bought both of them to eventually resell. Everybody's talking. Actually, I think I'll leave them on the wall for the moment. Pockets and Stitches, how are you tonight? Glad you guys could make it. Let's check on. Always better late than never. Speaking of which, it is getting kind of late. We're coming up on an hour. And once again, I've run out of things to talk about. Hard to believe. Yeah, I do. I occasionally I just run out of things to talk about. I come up with these ideas in my head. I'm like, yeah, I can talk about that for an hour. And then I talk about it for 5 minutes. I'm like, well, I burned that idea up pretty quick. Okay, Tina, we'll talk to you next time. Oh, absolutely, Harry. Now, last week I wasn't here. I was a little under the weather, but I, I will make an effort to be here every Wednesday night. Yes, please do hit the thumbs up. Again, I am going to try my best to learn how to edit video and start putting out some pre-recorded videos for you guys. I know there's a lot of little things like the watches and how I take care of leather goods like boots and dress shoes. And so I've got a lot of ideas for making these videos. All I need to do is learn how to edit. Me too. I was not feeling very good. And it was actually for several days in a row that I didn't feel good. But we're back on track. We're up and working every day. Yeah, and there's tons of that kind of video out there already. But everybody does everything different. And a lot of what I know came from those YouTube videos. I take a little piece of what this one does, a little piece of what this one does, a little bit of what my grandfather taught me, a little bit of stuff I learned, trial and error. So hopefully I can combine all of that stuff and come up with something at least somewhat unique, or another view of something. So that's something, the eBay workshop is going to get revamped this year, and we're going to start putting out pre-recorded videos this year. And the goal is to hopefully get monetized, but I am not going to be one of those resellers turned YouTubers. I know me. I will not put forth that much effort to crank out a video, and I don't have it in me to fake one. So you guys will never see me venture off the path that direction. Yeah, I agree, Pockets. And a lot of the stuff when I do them, for instance, when I do cowboy boots and dress shoes, if it's something I've learned, or if you want to learn where I learned some of it, I will let you know where I learned some of that stuff from. For instance, with the boots and shoes, uh, you couldn't do better than to go find a channel called The Elegant Oxford. And not so much his newer videos, but a lot of his older videos. You can learn a lot about taking care of leather footwear on that channel. So there's one of them. Anyway, guys, I think we're going to call it a night right there. I am going to go in the house and I'm going to kick my feet up. I've got all my drafts done for the day, all my listings done for the day. I've got 3 items to pull for shipping out in the morning. But other than that, my day is done. So you guys have a good one, and we'll see you next week.